They say a man's home is his castle, but let me tell you something. My castle was never about turrets and stone. Mine was a valley, a lake, and the iron wheel my great-grandfather set in place nearly 100 years ago, a heartbeat, not a building. You know, most folks just see a blue blob on a brochure, call it amenity. But what I saw every morning was the living pulse of 3 generations who learned the dam's language better than English. And when they tried to turn our lake into some HOA playground, well, that's when I put both hands on the wheel and let the law and the water do my talking. And brother, they listened better than any board meeting. My name's Alex Thorne, and if you've ever loved a place so deep, you can smell the rain before it hits the lake or tell by the wind whether the gate valves slept easy, you get it. Thorn Valley's never made any map worth a tourist's dime, but to me it's a bowl of oaks, cattails, and one stubborn dam my great-granddaddy Elijah built in the late 20s with more grit than cash. He didn't pour concrete like some king, he shaped the earth like it was a handshake, laid a spillway that could sing when it was happy, and penciled a high water line on a survey that's outlasted 4 wars, 3 recessions, and 100 arguments. That line, the one Elijah drew, runs in red ink through every deed, permit, and water right from here back to before I was born. The lake and the bed, under it up to, and including that stubborn high water mark, all ours. And the wheel that makes the water dance, the one in our pump house, it only listens to Thorn hands. That's just the quiet, boring truth we all grew up with, and I never thought much about it until I had to. One morning I'm strolling the Eastern Edge, coffee in one hand, binoculars in the other, checking the ducks, not the neighbors, and I see orange vests, tripods, folks in the brush, acting like they own the place. Survey crew gives me the world's vaguest answer, residential project, sir, and bolts like they heard bees. 2 weeks later, the gas station pinboard is sporting a glossy new poster, Apex Developers presents Serenity Shores. Blonde wood champagne smiles, cartoon dock drawn smack onto my shoreline like my family never existed. Lakeside living kids, kayaks, sunshine for days. It would have been funny if it wasn't so real. First letter doesn't ask. It tells. Comes embossed from a high-rise law firm, tone so confident you'd think I was their tenant. Apex Developers, soon to be the Serenity Shores. HOA intends full and reasonable use of the adjacent waterway for its residents, will require unfettered access to the shoreline for boat launching maintenance. And get this, I could be liable if I unreasonably restrict their access. The gall right, I drag it over to my lawyer Alistair Finch. Man's been fighting paper with paper since before I had a beard. He reads it, cracks, the tiniest smile, says, they have no idea what they just stepped in. So we send back a brick of proof deeds maps, red high waterline photos, county records, everything. But Elijah's fingerprints all spelling out in legalese and plain English. This lake is private, bed's mine, water's mine to manage. Their shiny brochure, pure fiction. Certified mail return receipt. Who signs Victoria Sterling president? Serenity Shores, HOA. A president for a place that doesn't even exist yet. That should have been my first clue. No apology, no meeting. Next thing, bulldozers buzzing close enough to shake the old family photos. They scalped the green buffer, built 30 homes like they were in a race with the weather. Cheap vinyl windows big enough to watch me scratch my head across the lake, every sightline pointed at my water like it was already theirs. Workers wandered down to the shore on lunch, left wrappers in the reeds, and each morning a new billboard screamed, "Your lakeside dream," with a dock photoshopped right over my boat ramp. I pulled out Elijah's survey, layered it with county GIS, and there it was in black and white. The high water line my family's owned for a century ran straight through the foundations they'd already poured. Not beside through. Some of those new homes sat so low a decent spring rain or one determined turn of my wheel and their patios would be swimming before the owners unpacked a box. Either they were clueless or they figured they could bet against gravity and family law. First showdown came on a Saturday, cold breeze, gray sky, sharp enough to make folks honest. I find Victoria at my old boat ramp, perched in a golf cart with 2 guys built like refrigerators. Coral blazer, mirrored glasses, clipboard like a weapon. "Mr. Thorne," she chirps. "We need to discuss the community canoe rack." I look down at her designer shoes. They're leaving wet marks on my side of the line. "There is no community here," I say, steady as I can manage. "This is private property. That ramp has carried Thorne canoes and nobody else's. Next time you cross this line, I'll call the sheriff and I won't be the one sweating." She puffs up, turns, and roars off, spitting gravel, a small win for now. Then I spot fresh tool marks on the guard plate for my secondary sluice, the kind of marks you only get from a trespasser or an idiot. That's sabotage, not gossip. Finch files complaints with every county address he can find. Apex fires back with more PR, more rumors, eccentric recluse up the hill, unsafe dam, anti-progress. They even file a bogus complaint about my dam being a risk to downstream assets. We shut it down with inspection reports and a century of careful logs and the kind of quiet family rage you can't buy at Home Depot. Here's where the story bends a twist nobody saw coming. I get an anonymous email. "I have something you need to see. Please don't use my name." Turns out to be a junior surveyor. Daniel Kidd looks like he hasn't slept since high school. We meet at a diner off Route 9. He slides me a bound report, elevations, flood profiles, all the warnings. We told them, he whispers, "Move back, raise pads, or don't build at all." The official report edited. They told us to change the parameters, make it viable. I kept a copy because my dad taught me to sleep at night. I promise I'll keep him out of it. This is my smoking gun. Finch reads it, his smile sharper now. "This," he says, tapping the page, "is their hole in the hull." Next, I call Sam Coleman, retired water engineer, family friend, a man who can hear a dam breathe. Sam comes out with a stethoscope for rivers, runs his hands along the pump house stones, checks the gates, sketches the schedule. "Do it slow, do it clean, don't let them scare you." "She'll take it," he says, and I trust him. I'll be honest, I thought about the Millers. Nice young couple. Toddler first house, bottom lot, dream view, future nightmare. I send an unsigned letter. "Verify your elevations. Talk to an independent engineer before moving in." Victoria gets wind, shows up with new light fixtures. Neighborly smile. They close the following week. Something inside me hardens. I pick a Tuesday. Overcast, nervous in the pines, most houses sold boxes and driveways, no real life yet. I bring a thermos and an old copy of Thoreau, like I'll read a word, but this isn't a picnic, it's a vigil. 9 a.m. I open the pump house door and put both hands on the same wheel my great-grandfather turned. Iron agrees with you sometimes, clunks deep when it does. Quarter turn, wait, listen, the spillway gurgle changes key. Another quarter, the lake rises quiet, not a splash, just a steady standing up. By noon, water's creeping up a line of rust stains on the old stump the construction boss finally notices. White golf cart rockets over Victoria in tow suit behind her. She's all fury. "What are you doing? You're flooding us. You'll ruin families." I lean on the wheel, look her dead in the eye. "I'm operating my dam on my land within my rights. Those houses are in my flood easement." The suit yells injunction. I tell him to put on his best tie. Victoria tries to grab the wheel. I stare her down and something in my face makes her hand freeze mid-air. By 3, my phone is lit up with urgent calls. By 5, the sheriff's deputy rolls up, "Kid, barely out of college. Mr. Thorne, we've had some calls." I walk him through the papers, deeds, water rights, high water mark, inspection logs. He flips through, twice shrugs. Looks civil to me. We don't weigh in on civil. Tips his hat, heads out. Dusk falls and Thorn Lake is back where Elijah drew it. The high water line is a truth no billboard can erase. On the far shore, a dozen houses have water nosing in under the doors, driveways gone to brown mirrors. The live lakeside sign. The side floated off somewhere behind the model home. It wasn't a flood, it was a slow truth. And nobody wins an argument with one of those. Next morning, Apex attorneys are already in court, slick as oil, waving photos, crying harm. Try to call me a menace, my family negligent. Finch stands quiet but unshakable. Walks the judge through every paper in order like beads on a rosary. Original deed, engineers drawing water right. Renewals, county letters, survey, warnings ignored. Judge lifts an eyebrow like he's just seen the punchline, request denied. Final as thunder. He says, I'm operating within my rights. Apex took a risk. Law's not a trampoline for folks who ignore maps because a rendering looks nice. After that, dominoes fall. Soaked buyers organize, sue as a group. Insurance companies sniff fraud bail or send investigators. Victoria disappears. PR flack calls the lake a shared resource. Can't spell my name right. Creditors circle, contractors vanish. Within months, Apex collapses. Serenity Shores goes quiet, then moldy. The county comes knocking, wants to avoid a wetland ghost town, asks if I'll lower the lake. Finch and I strike a deal. I'll drop it just enough to turn those lowest lots back to swamp if creditors pay to haul out every last scrap, restore the shore. They sign. It takes a season to tear down a season's worth of arrogance. When the last wall falls, the lake sighs if a lake can, and the birds come back like they never left. Folks like to say I flooded the rich, but that's not true. I just returned the water to where my granddad's pencil drew the line. There's a difference, and you feel it in your bones when you've got to stand for it. Do I think about the Millers? Sure. Do I wish Apex had done right? Absolutely. But responsibility's a three-legged stool seller buyer system, and Apex kicked out all three. Now the view's just trees and sky. The pump house wears moss. Sometimes when the spillway hums, I thank Elijah out loud like a fool, but maybe that's what belonging feels like. Word gets around. The Great Thorn Lake reclaiming is a legend now, a cautionary tale at developer conferences. Let's get the elevation guy in sooner next time. Good lesson. Don't argue with water, and don't ignore the folks who've known it longer than you've been alive. Funny thing, just last week, someone slid a postcard under my Wiper Harbor Vista where nature meets luxury. Cute paddleboards, a dotted line on a river I know as well as my own veins. Maybe the lesson never sticks for folks who think spreadsheets can outvote geography. But if they try to build where my family's line runs, I know where the wheel is and how iron sounds when it says yes. So let me ask you, if your grandfather's pencil line ran through somebody's patio and they called your lake a community feature, what would you have done? Stopped at a letter or put hands on the wheel and trusted the law, the math, the water? Drop your take in the comments. Who's right? Who's responsible, and what's fair to folks who just wanted a place to call home? And hey, if you know someone thinking about lakeside living, do them a favor before you fall in love with the view. Make sure you know who really owns the water.